Hello, and welcome to the Scodix Online Academy. By the end of this tutorial, you will know how to create basic printing files for the Scodix press. This process contains 4 simple steps: creating Scodix separation in Adobe Illustrator, creating a Scodix spot color, defining a density effect, saving the Cmyk UV layers as PDF files for the Scodix press. Every project starts with some preparations. First, we open the Adobe Illustrator and import the image we want to process into. We open a color file, and it is also recommended to name this layer Cmyk or color or any other name to describe a color layer. Next, we need to create a new layer. It is recommended to name it as UV or Scodix or any other name that you use for Scodix. We use this layer to mark the areas we will print later on with the Scodix press. Now, before we start marking the image, we need to define the Scodix spot color we use. For that matter, we create a new color swatch and name it as Scodix. The next step is to define the new color swatch type as spot color, and finally, to define the color we want to use. This color will be used for the Scodix separation. Once we finish, we can see that the new spot color was added to the swatches panel. The indication for a successful Scodix spot color creation is the little dot on the new Scodix spot color box. We now click on the UV Scodix layer. We use the anchor point tool for marking the desired areas. Once we're done marking the area, we click the Scodix spot color to fill it with our predefined spot swatch color. So let's mark another area. This time, we change its opacity in order to create a different Scodix density. We use the range of 5 to 30% on the opacity scale, and specifically in this file we use 20%. Above 30%, it is recommended to define the opacity as 100%. We do the same work for the text. Because the text is in vector format, we copy it to the UV layer and color it with the Scodix spot color. Here is how the UV layer looks like at the end of the marking work. We can see the differences between the areas with 100% opacity and the areas with the 20%. We are almost done, and what's left to do is to save the files. We save the layers separately, one for the Cmyk layer and one for the UV layer. But first, we save the Illustrator working file. We first delete the Scodix UV layer so that we can see only the Cmyk layer. Now we save the Cmyk layer. It's very important to name the files properly like we did here, the file name with the layer type. As you can see, there is no need to change any of the default definitions. Now we press undo to go back and create the Scodix UV layer again. This time, we delete the Cmyk layer and save the UV layer in the same way as we saved the Cmyk layer. And we are done. We have 3 files. The Adobe Illustrator working file, which contains all layers and 2 PDFs, one for the Cmyk for regular color printing, and the UV layer for the Scodix printing. And that's it. We are now ready to print the files. So let's summarize the entire process. First, we create the Scodix separation in Adobe Illustrator, meaning we create a new layer called UV along with the original Cmyk layer. Then we create the spot color named Scodix. Next, we mark the areas with the Scodix spot color, and for each marking area, we could apply a low density effect or a full density effect. And finally, we save the Cmyk UV layers as PDF files. Enjoy your Scodix.